There it is.
There it is.
We're
What's up,
live, Ty.
everyone? Welcome to this episode of Over the Top Rope. I have got the Dreamweaver, Wayne Moxxi, as my guest.
Oh wow,
How are you tonight, sir?
dude, I'm doing great, really great. As you can see here, I've got my BBL certification as well as my therapist, Drowsy here. How are you?
That, I'm good, man. I think that's a perfect thing to lead into because the BBL was definitely a going to be a topic of conversation because
Good.
who doesn't want to get well versed in big booty Latinas?
I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. I hope.
And if they, I'll tell you what, as the ALW general manager, I'll make that as part of the screening and booking process. If you're not into BBLs, you
Exactly.
don't get booked.
You have to take a survey, and then you actually have to get certified for outstanding admiration of big booty Latinas before you can accept a book.
Yeah, and before shows that you're booked on, we can do BBL seminars before the
That'd be great.
shows.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. $20. That's it. Very very cheap.
Yeah, if you're down to teach that class,
Yeah, that's it. That'll be $20.
$20. It'd be the easiest money you've ever made, I'm sure.
Honestly. But I mean, everybody needs to know about BBLs.
Yeah, so how do I guess when did the whole BBL thing start?
When I was a child, of course. So I actually grew up around a Spanish family a lot. Not necessarily my family per se, but a lot of Spanish people when I was growing up. But also leading into my teenage years and into my adult life, working around a lot of Spanish people. So it just kind of turned into something I admired deeply.
Just kind of admiring the BBL, huh?
Yeah, of course.
And I think I even offered to pay you your booking fee in BBL, I think.
You did. You offered me two BBLs, but with BBLs, I don't know how much you could actually handle. I think two might be a little too many. Maybe like one a day is good, but two at a time that could be a little stressful.
So speaking of one a day, let's say you get sick, you go to the doctor, and they're like, we're gonna prescribe you one BBL a day. Is that something you'd be interested in?
I'm cured. I'm cured immediately.
And
Can I get a lifetime prescription of that?
you just got to go back to the
Just keep going back.
doctor.
Got it. Got it. Keep
Yeah.
getting sick on purpose and go back to the doctor. Got it.
Yeah, man. Wouldn't that be crazy if the cure for COVID was like BBL? Wouldn't that be crazy?
That would be amazing. Look, I'm fortunate enough to I'm fortunate enough to have not ever contracted COVID. So strong immune
That
system.
and that's kind of cool to hear, though, considering you do a lot of traveling. You're around a bunch of different people.
Right, and there were some folks that I was around frequently that ended up getting it, but I don't know if it was my immune system or I just never had any symptoms. Maybe I'm asymptomatic, but never tested positive or anything like that. But
Could let's see here. Could we maybe make the correlation that BBL is preventative for COVID?
yeah, 100%. So with that being said, that means everyone that contracted COVID, they didn't have admiration for BBLs. Lesson learned.
So now we're actually getting even more somewhere because if you've had COVID, we know you're not down with the BBL, so you're just outing
Exactly.
yourself, basically.
So there's another question that's going to be on the questionnaire when you're taking bookings for ALW for sure. Have you had COVID? And that'll answer every other question on the questionnaire.
Yeah, and so then just we can leave it to the one question
Yeah.
to have you had COVID? If you say yes, then we're like, that's a nah for me, dog. And talking about going back to your childhood, you got to relive some childhood trauma recently with Chad and Lennox.
I did. I did. There's a lot of stuff that Chad and I actually still need to work on. As some people may or may not have seen, I did not leave him lying on the ground. Okay, I went. I searched the Tri Cities. I searched the Mid Atlantic area for help, and fortunately, someone came by. I think a janitor that was cleaning up after everybody had left. They found him laying on the ground, so they managed to unlodge the what was it, a cracker and a piece of cheese in his throat. Thank goodness. But uh, luckily, I can't really be framed for anything that may have happened because he did eat it of his own free will, knowing the danger. And then he put the responsibility of me bringing the Capri Suns and the Lunchables. Like, I think Chad needs to take some responsibility for that too.
Yeah, and if we know anything from the playground schoolyard days, it's kind of an unwritten rule that one brings the Capri Sun, one brings the Lunchables.
Exactly, and I think Chad just forgot that. So that's another thing we're gonna have to work on. Maybe he'll bring the Capri Suns next time, and I'll bring Lunchables, or maybe I'll bring the Capri Sun, he'll bring the Lunchable, or maybe he'll bring both, or I'll bring both. Who knows? I guess we'll find out soon.
Yeah, we will find out soon. And in your completely professional and expert opinion, do you think that he forgot the Capri Sun due to something in his childhood past that did or did not happen?
My professional opinion, I can't say I'm a therapist, but I think it definitely does have something to do with something that happened in his past. Maybe at some point someone forgot the Capri Suns for him as a kid, so he wanted to forget them on purpose as kind of a way to deflect his feelings.
I don't think I could have said that any better myself. And I think Chad would have had to pay a good bit amount of money for what, that statement you just made. So, as always with the BBL, whether it be childhood trauma, you're just doing the world a service.
Exactly. That's what I'm here for. Weaving the
And
dream, if you will, not just for myself, but for everyone else.
you want to see everyone weave the dream, I guess, huh?
Yeah, of course. Sometimes you got to do it for them, though.
Do you like doing it for them, or would you prefer they do it on their own?
I would prefer they did it on their own. But if I can be a little bit of an inspiration to help them, trot along their path, that'd be great. That's just fine. I've got
Yeah,
my own dreams to weave here.
yeah, that's very. I think that it should be like an emergency. My dreams are kind of going to shit. I need to talk to the Dreamweaver kind of thing.
Exactly. It's almost like I become their therapist, but for their dreams. What do I need to do to weave my dreams? Well, buddy, I don't have all the answers, but I can give you my perspective.
More BBL. That's
More
how you weave
BBLs,
your dream.
exactly. Big booty Latinas. That's honestly maybe the only thing that they need. That could be the only thing that they're missing.
Just that catalyst that just kind of pushes them over a little bit.
Correct. Yes.
How's your fur coat doing? That Chad did a pretty good number on that
You know
fur
what?
coat.
I took it to the dry cleaners and got it cleaned up, so it's doing okay. I've actually got it right here. It's just chilling out here on my table with my therapist and my certification, of course.
That's good to hear because man, he went to town on that thing, and I was like, I don't know if this is like him unleashing, because
Yeah,
people who are dealing with trauma tend to lash out a little bit,
it's
or if he just
deflection.
really wanted to disrespect you.
Yeah. It might be a little bit of both. I'm not sure. We'll have to talk about it more. But right now, I want to assume that it's deflection, from everything that went on in his life. I know he's a product of childhood trauma too.
And the match that you and him had was a childhood trauma match, which made sense. It fit. It worked. And how was Chad pretty receptive to the childhood trauma match?
At first, I thought it was the childhood trauma therapy match. That's the whole reason I brought this carpet here, or my coat, if you will. I was trying to make it where we didn't have to fight, and we could just talk about what was going on, and that's where you can start to improve. But he insisted that we fight as he tried to throw the first blow. But all I wanted to do was talk about it. And after the match, of course, we had a discussion, and one thing led to another. He ended up on the ground again.
Yeah, that went south pretty quickly too. But I mean, you went to hug him, and he just like ducked and rolled out.
Yeah,
And
yeah. The thing is, everybody at ALW wanted to see us hug, so we got it out of the way at the beginning. And I don't know if there was some kind of switch in his mind that said that the hug wasn't actually what he needed or what he wanted. But I tried again at the end of the match, and he just decided it wasn't for him.
yeah, yeah, that. it turned pretty quickly, and it went from like a, I think we're getting to somewhere kind of a one step forward, two steps back kind of
Right.
thing. So, but would you say that you and him are, how do I say this? Do you guys have things resolved, or do you think there's a little bit more in the future?
There's definitely more in the future. I don't think there's a full resolution as of right now. I'm hoping we can finally, at some point, come to some sort of revolution. We might even be able to work together. Who knows? Make trauma in progress, something. But I, I, I believe that's something that everyone has in common is trauma. We've all been through something in our life, no matter what it is. Yeah. So no matter what it is, at what point in your life, we've been through something, and that's very relatable.
That 1000%, that is something that resonates with everyone, whether it be just, getting let go from a job, or losing, a pet, or losing a loved one, or maybe, you're putting the moves on that BBL at the bar, and then she just takes off and leaves you hanging. It's all trauma.
She doesn't even acknowledge it. But luckily now that I don't frequent bars, I really don't go to bars at all. But now that I have this certification, it makes it a lot easier. I just whip this bad boy out, and they fall for it pretty easy.
Oh, the certification does the talking for you.
Exactly. I don't even have to say anything at this point.
So when you like, if you go to the doctor and they're like, we think you are, do you just whip that out and you're like, I'm BBL certified, like,
Yeah,
I know more than you kind of thing?
exactly. Like I have my certificate. This is pretty much a master's degree in BBL.
The master's degree equivalent.
Equivalent, yes.
That's
Unfortunately, it's
amazing.
just a certification. I still have to work towards my mastery, but I'm getting there.
Okay, that's good. You're working towards your dreams.
Yes, exactly. Leaving the dream, if you will.
Yeah. you, you were in, I can't remember if it was like a battle royal or a scramble, and you ended up in the chair right in front of me, and I was like, you're doing great, man. If you dream it, you can weave it.
Yes, exactly. Whatever you set your dream to, you can weave. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if that helped you or put you in a different mindset. I'd really like to think that my words in that situation were kind of like, an angel lifting you up a little bit. That's what I'd like to think anyway.
If that's what helps you get through the day and in that moment, continue to think that because that's very important. And I do appreciate those words of affirmation in that time that I needed it during that match.
That's all I needed to hear. I just needed you to
Sure.
validate my feelings.
You've been validated, my friend.
That's what I'm talking about. And the video, for people that haven't seen it, Chad did eat a Lunchables of his own volition, but you understand that the video does not look good on your end.
What do you mean? I I,
It
I was trying. I did go look for help. Like I didn't make them eat it or anything like that. Yeah, I did bring the Lunchables for us to share, so we can try to work through our feelings, and we were even making progress. But as far as like responsibility, I don't take responsibility for that. That's just he chose to eat those the ham and cheese and crackers. I ate the Oreos, but I didn't choke. I was fine. But maybe he needs to learn how to actually eat food properly.
that's that makes sense. Just kind of go back to the basic 101 life skills we learn as a kid, just how to eat properly, how to chew your food properly, so
Right,
large chunks of food don't go down the wrong way.
right. And it doesn't help that we were having a good time. So maybe the laughter that was going on caused him to asphyxiate or choke, if you will. But again, I left to get help, and during the time that I left, someone actually came along and helped them. So it all worked out, honestly.
It all worked out. Yep. I can agree with that. That on the front end of things, on the initial front end of things, it didn't look that great. But
Right.
now that I've had you on here and you've had the chance to tell your side, anyone saying that Wayne Moxie walked away from a dying man is just wrong.
I would not walk away from a dying man and just let him die. That's just not right.
It's
Or let
just not right. And wrestling fans are dumb anyway. So
Well, some are, some aren't. Some understand, but it's a mixed bag of wrestling fans, definitely.
Definitely a mixed bag. That's a very PG-13 way of putting it, and I will agree with you. And you actually kind of broke into the ALW by challenging slash I don't want to say feud because I think feud's kind of a lame word, but challenging JR Miller, kind of for the Lucha X Championship. How was it working with JR Miller?
Working with Daryl was a lot of fun. I like being challenged, and of course, I always trying to go for the championship anytime I go to a new place. I did have to work a few matches before I earned that opportunity, but of course, how the Zenith are at ALW. They got Benny and a few other guys that get in the way, and they kind of spoil the fun, if you will. It kind of like it's like a fog or a mist, or you're in the middle of a dream and everything's about to come to fruition, and then suddenly somebody wakes you up, or your alarm clock goes off. You almost had that championship, and then bam, it's in it.
That's a very good way to put it too. And just as you're talking, I just had a thought pop into my head that J.R. Miller does tend to have a few extra people at ringside. So do you think you could maybe persuade them to go in another direction with Big Booty Latinas?
I think I can persuade anyone. Well, actually, you know what? I don't think it's me that does the persuasion or persuading. It's more the big booty Latinas. All I have to do is provide that.
That makes sense. And do you see any type of Big Booty Latina match in your future, as in the winner gets said BBL?
Well, I sure hope so. However, it's definitely about consent. So we have to get a BBL that's willing to consent to that type of match rather than just dragging one along. Of course, we can't just say, "Hey, you're going to be a part of this match, and whoever wins, guess what? That's who you're going with."
Consent is a very big thing, and so if sometime in the future the ALW sees fit to do the old Big Booty Latina match, we'll make sure that all parties involved, other than yourself, because we already know where you stand on the matter,
Of course,
uh, are are all in agreement that this is a good thing to do.
right? Consent, and not to mention, we got to make sure they didn't have COVID, because otherwise, it's all a charade or a masquerade for not actually liking big booty Latinas, and we can't have that.
No, yeah, there's a lot of things that we can't have in ALW. Can't have people going over their times. Can't have people, kind of going into business for themselves.
Right.
And we can't have people that aren't on the Big Booty Latina train. So
And the Dreamweaver train too.
that's very true too,
Right.
because I think, yeah, if you're not down with the Dreamweaver, then you're obviously not down with the BBLs.
Yeah, it's like a combination. They go hand in hand. And if you don't like BBLs, you don't like the Dreamweaver. You don't like Dreamweaver, you don't like BBLs.
And going back to the wrestling fans, as you stated, some do have a lower IQ than the rest, and I hope that when the fans watch this video, they don't take it into their own hands to insult BBLs at shows that you're on.
I don't honestly, deep down, I don't think any of them have the capacity to do so. And if they don't have the capacity, and then they actually prefer BBLs. So it's either the lack thereof or they prefer it.
I think that's fair. I think that's very fair.
Yeah,
Maybe there's maybe some projecting going on from
yeah,
their end or something like that, and
exactly.
you know they're dealing with things that they don't know how to deal with, so they're lashing out irrationally.
Right. Sometimes you just got to talk about it, though. Get you a therapist. If you don't have a therapist, get a close friend like Chad Lennox. Just don't let them pass away or choke on some
Yeah,
lunch.
because I imagine Chad is a pretty good individual to talk to when he's not his airways not constricted.
Yes, absolutely.
The I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, we mentioned J.R. Miller, but you and him had the same training school.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
yeah. So my original training was by a just a random guy on the Indies. So I went about 4.5, 5 years, just doing a lot of seminars, going around the country. Went all over. Only place I haven't wrestled in the United States mainly is the West Coast, but
Hmm.
I've wrestled in Canada and a few other places like that, all up and down the East Coast of the United States, Midwest. But about 2000, I took a year off around the time COVID hit.
Hmm.
Had a lot of things going on. Opportunities were dropping just because of COVID, and I was just everything was causing a boiling point of frustration, if you will. So, and around 2019 is when the JPWA opened in Knoxville, the Dr. Tom School, and I originally went to the orientation, and I was going to be a part of the first class, but again, things just started falling through and weren't working out in my favor. So about 2020, I decided I was going to take a year off, recuperate, and really figure out the dream,
Hmm.
if you will. So JPWA was definitely that place to go. And so I graduated in September of 2021, or yeah, 2021, and then haven't stopped since.
That's amazing, especially since you took the time to process what you were feeling, what was going on in your life, and you made that step forward, and it's definitely panned out with you. I think it's benefited you well because me and a couple of other people were talking about the past show, the childhood trauma therapy match, and a lot of people agreed that it was one of the best matches of the night between you and Chad Lennox. It seemed like you guys had just you kind of went back and forth on social media, which is like one of the reasons why I love you as a wrestler and love following you because my God, you know how to build a fucking match. You know what I'm saying? And so it was definitely one of the matches of the night. And then, seeing you in, different matches, one on one, four ways, that kind of thing. I love watching the Dreamweaver, man. I just do.
Thank you, thank you. I think it's very important. You like so if you're gonna have a match, you have to have give people a reason to care about what they're watching. And with professional wrestling, you also have to have fun, but you have to look at what else is going on at the show. You have to see who else is wrestling on the show. And sometimes it's not just about wrestling in the ring. You have to provide a reason for those people to care. So you know, everybody's going to go out there and have a wrestling match, but who's going to go out there and have a childhood trauma therapy match? Right.
That
Nobody.
exactly. And I think that's, what I guess kind of you independent guys are up against here in like 2023 because the hand gestures coming out has been done before. The
Yeah,
storyline's probably been done
yeah,
before. The gimmick probably has been done
yeah.
before. Childhood trauma match? I don't think it's ever been done before.
I've never heard. Look, the in wrestling, it's hard to find something that hasn't been done before, whether it's a move, a moment, anything. But
Hmm.
you just have to have fun and get creative and be yourself and not think twice about it, because once you start to overthink everything, then you won't want to do it. Like when I started putting the match in my head and building it up, the things I was doing, uh, I kept second guessing myself,
Hmm.
but luckily I still continued. So like the therapy session with Drowsy, and then doing the talking about big booty Latinas, it was kind of something that I stopped and I said, is this really how I want to proceed with what we're doing here? And I just said yes, and it worked out in my favor. Now people everywhere I go now, they're quoting the stuff I say in some of the videos that I make. They're talking about BBL, so it's just one of those things that work out, and then you just go with it.
That it 100% worked out because, like, even now, I'll randomly in my head be like, and that's why I think I love
Yep,
big booty Latinas.
it's great.
And it's all the delivery, and you can tell you were having fun with it, and you
Yeah,
could tell that it was authentic, so to speak. So it had me hooked, and it's I don't know where we're at this day and age with, independent guys not doing promos, not
Yeah,
tweeting about it, not talking about their match, just showing up, collecting their, going and putting out a 6, 8, 10-minute match, getting their fee, and then going home. Because I see, it's kind of 50-50 what I see. Some, they just show up, do their thing, and then leave. And the others, they'll create kind of their own promo. They'll kind of create their own flyer, and, they'll put out videos like you did and just like really build it up. And I get called old school all the time because that's what I love. That's what
yeah,
draws me into a match is a childhood trauma therapy match, and automatically I'm like, what the fuck is this about? I want to
yeah,
watch it.
yeah. So that's actually something that I do myself. If I'm not featured on a flyer or I don't have a match graphic, I make it myself. I'll message the,
Amazing.
yeah, I'll find a graphic of my opponent and I'll download it and then I create the graphic myself because again, we have to give people a reason to actually care about the match, whether it's just a graphic and us bantering back and forth or building it up with video packages or promos or whatever. We have to make people care.
You are absolutely 1000% speaking my language, and I love it. I really do.
So another one of the things is when you're at shows, you see people at their merch tables and they're just sitting down, they're just waiting on someone to come up. So at the last ALW show, I decided I was just going to stand on top of the chair
Yep.
and announce like, "Hey, come on down at Moxxi's Merchandise Emporium. Moxxi has merch if you have money, stuff like that. It's just having a little fun." So you have to give people either entertain them or give them a reason to come over and want to interact with you. And I did the same thing at a show in Crossville, Tennessee, called Resolute Wrestling.
Hmm.
During intermission, they're selling raffle tickets. So I grabbed the microphone from one of the other wrestlers that were out there because he wasn't having the type of energy you need to sell raffle tickets. So
Yeah.
I grabbed the microphone and for about 10, 15 minutes, I was going off about raffle tickets and coming over to my table and things like that, where I ended up selling more raffle tickets and selling merch at the same time. So it
That,
worked out.
yeah,
You go,
and I think that's very important
yep,
in that I mean, you're thinking outside the box. You're not just like, hey, do you want this 8x10? It's
yep,
$10,
yeah,
because there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that, and
yes.
I don't want to assume, but I definitely think there's a lot of independent guys who think I wrestled on the show. People are going to come to my table
Right.
anyway.
That's just not the case. Because I used to do that too. I'm guilty of it also.
Mhm.
There was a while I just took everything a little too seriously. I went back and forth with, oh, let's have a lot of fun. No, I need to be a serious wrestler. Let's have a lot of fun. It's not that I don't take what I do serious, but you got to have fun first and foremost and be safe, but have fun, give people a reason to care. And when I first started, still trying to figure out who I was. I
Mhm.
started off as like Foxy Wayne Moxxi. Then I went to the Cosmic Dream. Oh
Mhm.
yeah, I've been through all kinds of stuff. And then for about a year and a half or 2 years, I donned a unicorn helmet. Where and people loved it. It was
Yeah.
really a lot of fun. If you scroll through some of my social media, you'll find old videos where I was just having a lot of fun. And then
Mhm.
I was, I guess, informed or told that if I wanted to make it a little further, I should stop doing it. And in hindsight, I shouldn't have listened to that because I stopped having fun once I stopped doing it. And for a while, everything started to die down for me too because I lost what I was connecting
Mhm.
with people. So and then I just stopped having fun. So then once I was taking everything serious and trying to figure out myself again, I said, forget it. Just have fun and let things naturally happen. Just be yourself. And now it's working out like it used to. So
That's amazing. I absolutely love hearing that, especially because I'm not a wrestler. I have zero training. Just to go off of what I see on social media, that you know someone like yourself could, ask 4 or 5 different people the same question in wrestling, and you're going to get 4 or 5 different
Yep.
answers. And so the fact that you kind of took a step back and assessed what works best for you, I think it speaks to where you're at now, and just everything you're doing, it works, it makes sense, and it flows really well. And it resonates with people, and it's not just a come watch me wrestle Tuesday at 7 p.m. at
Yep.
the Red Barn, whatever.
A lot of things like life and wrestling is not linear. It's not black and white. It's not straightforward.
Mhm.
There's all kinds. It's kind of like childhood trauma. It's kind of everything just that's happened to you has developed you into who you are, and it's not just one particular personality trait, if you will. I don't want to say it's a multiple personality or anything like that, but
Yeah.
life is so bright, and there's so many things to experience that it's hard to really latch on to one singular thing as far as like who you are or anything. Because that was a question or advice I was given recently too. Is
Hmm.
that they were confused about who I was, and when they said that, it made me question myself, as I say, well, maybe I don't actually know who I am. But as thought about that question more, I thought if you look at it from a real life perspective and a wrestling perspective, you don't see someone who isn't linear or doesn't have something you can necessarily latch onto, aside from BBL that I have going on right now. But that's kind of who I am. Like
Hmm.
rambunctious, bewildering, like you don't know what you're gonna get. One day I may be super serious, and the next it's like I wasn't serious at all. So I think that's very important. So the thing that I guess you could latch onto when it comes to Wayne Moxie is I'm a very confusing person. Like, I'm gonna confuse you because I'm gonna make you feel a lot of emotions, and I think that's important. So chaotic, I guess, if you will.
And yeah, and that's what works for you. That's
Yeah.
that's what's authentic. That's who you are. Then you can't let anybody tell you different. And like I said, it's working. It's the BBL is catching on, and maybe here soon we can get hashtag BBL trending on Twitter nationwide or something.
I've been typing almost every status I put on Twitter. I've tried to just not necessarily hashtag, but I at least put Big Blue Latino or try to.
And even in just uh I guess around a couple of weeks that you've really been promoting the BBL, it's catching on. It's just one of those things where you could think of a thousand different things, catchphrases to come up with, but it's
Oh, I
probably
got them.
the one.
I've got a
But
book full of them.
and it's probably the one that you just inadvertently accidentally say that gets over with the crowd. So
BBL. That's what it was. So,
and
and it wasn't even something I wrote down. It was just laying on the couch. I'm like, and that's why I love Big Blue Latinas. And and then it just ended up working out. So I'm like I said, I've got a book full of catchphrases and one-liners and stuff like that, nicknames for other people, but BBL stuff. BBL worked out more than anything else I've said. I feel like,
there you go. So just another reason to trust the process and believe in your own dream, I guess.
yeah, exactly. And I'll take something from DDP Diamond Dallas Page. He talked about don't think it, ink it. So write it down and don't think about it, but and then read it over, and then just give it a shot.
That's good.
So
I
yeah.
haven't heard that before. That's pretty good though. I have no reason to remember that, but I'm going to.
Well, you never know when you have an idea that you're overthinking, and when you write it down, it becomes either a bad idea or it spawns more creative ideas, starts to branch out. So
And speaking of branching out, I'd have to say some of the wrestling fans, their family tree doesn't fork, but that's another conversation for another day. One last thing I wanted to bring up. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but I reshared the post I made about our interview last night, and I don't know if you've seen it, but a guy commented on it and said, "I thought this was Hurricane Shane Helms." So I want to know how you feel about being compared to Hurricane.
That's I've been compared to a lot of people, a lot of wrestlers. I won't go on. I won't name all the wrestlers I've been compared to already, just from gear and the way I wrestle sometimes, or just the way I look. But that's a huge compliment. Shane Helms is very talented. If I'm not mistaken, he's still a producer for WWE. So
Hmm.
it's a huge compliment, especially with all of his accomplishment.
Yep.
So, but I also like superhero stuff and comic books, and I loved his Hurricane stuff he did with, especially with the Rock too,
Yep.
Rock and Kane stuff like that. So it's a compliment for me.
That's amazing. I'll take it, and I'm
Oh,
sure you'll take it too, obviously. But yeah, I was like Hurricane Shane Helms, and I'm looking at you, and I'm like, okay, okay, I get it, I get it.
I do like capes too. I don't. I'm contemplating getting one, but right now I do like my robes that I've got.
Yeah, maybe if you can keep the robe away and the fur away from Chad, so it survives just a little bit longer, can
Do
stick
you
with
think?
that
Do
maybe.
you think if Chad tries on my robe, that will help a little bit? Maybe he just needs like it smells nice and it's comfortable. So you think that might help?
I do, and like, what if there's like some like just like magic that like let's say you and him are in a real and intense therapy session, and the waterworks are going, and he just uses the fur to wipe his tears, and his tears just like activate something in the fur coat. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, he's got his own fur coats too. Like we have a lot in common. I don't know if Chad realizes that or not. Aside from the
Oh,
childhood trauma, we have quite a bit in common. I won't go into deep detail right now, but we definitely have a lot in common that we can dive more into in the future.
I like the sound of that. And in that same breath, I know Chad has told me that he kind of feels the same way, and he
Yeah.
thinks that you and him may have some further interaction
Oh,
down the road, and that
okay.
he hopes you guys have further interaction down the road.
Yeah, I'm open all for it. I know the next ALW show is March 18th, correct? If I'm not
It sure
mistaken.
is.
And then they've got the Wrestle War joint show with FCW. Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe
Yep.
something on March 18th, maybe another therapy session. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, because anybody that knows anything about therapy, it's not just a one and done type thing.
Right. It's a continuation. It's like pro wrestling. Even if you finish your training, you never stop learning. So same thing with when it comes to therapy. You never stop healing.
You never stop healing. Oh man, there it is right there. You never stop healing.
Yep.
Boom. There it
Boom.
is. $1 million idea, $1 million catchphrase, whatever.
It's all coming together.
Oh, that's gonna do it. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you hopping on here and talking and
Cool.
just educating everyone on the ways of the BBL, and maybe you can get some BBL classes going, make a little money off that.
Yeah. If I show up to shows early enough and we got some people interested, it'll just be $20. Slip it under the ring at my merch table, whatever you need to do, but however you need to get it to me. But we'll try to get everybody certified on BBLs.
Certified BBLs. I love it. Tell everyone where they can find you on the social medias.
It's pretty easy. It's just at Wayne Moxxi. Some places have a underscore, some have a dot in between. But if you just type in Wayne Moxxi, you'll be able to find everything on social media.
Boom. There you have it. And along with the ALW stuff you just mentioned, where can people find you coming up if they do want to educate themselves on the BBL?
Right. So I've got a few more shows coming up this month. I've got the ALW show, of course. I'll be back at SPCW in La Follette, Tennessee, here in the next few months, and that's kind of about it right now. I got a little bit of other stuff I'm working on, but I've got Innovate in April and a few other places I'll be traveling to also.
There you go. And if they do the right thing and follow you on social media, then they'll
They'll be
know
able to
where
keep
you're at
up.
and where you're going to be.
Yes, sir.
So just do the right thing. That's all you got to do.
If you're not following for Dreamweaver, at least follow for BBLs.
Follow for the BBLs. I'm in it for both personally. I like the dream weaving and I like the BBL. So
Thank you.
that's going to do it. I really appreciate everybody that tuned in. to this episode. I hope we all learned something. I most certainly did. And we will see you all on the next episode of Over the Top Rope.
Sweet dreams.